Every now and then, in some Australian lagoon, creek, swamp or billabong, a crocodile, in an almost absent-minded way, will eat a passing person. Or at least take a significant chunk out of someone. These ancient predators show few good points. They're neither furry nor cute, they don't respond to kindness, they're not even nice to each other, let alone to swimmers or fishermen, and they have a rather insincere smile. In fact, only estuarine or saltwater crocodiles will actually attack a passer-by. This is Kakadu in the Northern Territory, where they made Crocodile Dundee, and where only the other day a crocodile bit off a man's head, bringing their score in the last 2 years to 9. Australia's unique freshwater crocodile, which can grow to 9 feet, is not usually considered dangerous. A salty, the one to worry about, has a broader snout, and one harpooned in Queensland's Norman River measured over 28 feet. Trouble is, the aggressive saltwater crocs also live in freshwater like this, so few visitors approached even by a mere 9-foot crocodile will hang around long enough to examine the width of its snout. Certainly not Crocodile Whicker. There's always a chance it may not have read the instructions. Crocodile hunting's been banned in Australia for the past 15 years, during which it's estimated their numbers have grown from 7,000 up to 50,000. But every time someone's snatched by one of these monsters, the campaign against their protected status is renewed. Exterminate the brutes, they say, and unfortunately for the smile on the face of the crocodile, these living dinosaurs have few defenders. Perhaps the nearest to that increasingly rare species, a human who actually likes crocodiles, is an electrician from Bristol. Mike Popel left ICI in 1969 to go to Tasmania. Since '74, he's been a ranger of the Queensland National Parks and Wildlife Service, spending much of his life protecting crocodiles from themselves and from others.
Yeah, this is a crocodile trap we've developed to make it easy for us to catch crocodiles. It's a big net system. The bait's stashed at the other end, and it's connected to this mechanism on the gate.
Oh, so that falls down?
That falls down, and as the crocodile goes in, it grabs the bait, it automatically will try and go out to the water. And so it will try and pull the bait, it will pull this mechanism, the door will drop, and the crocodile will hopefully be there when we come and find it. Once the animal's secured, in other words, we tie the head down, it's right, and you leave a person with that croc, and once someone's with the crocodile sort of shut down. They got the ability to shut their metabolism down, and just by having someone wandering around here, talking to himself, whatever, that crocodile will be pretty quiet until we can get more people in to shift it.
Now, 3 or 4 people have been taken by crocs recently.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't those crocs shut themselves down and leave them alone?
Well, they don't. That's a different ball game.
They ate them.
A different ball game altogether. Most of the fatalities we've had recently is all down to stupidity.
On the part of the people?
Yeah, on the part of the people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we put crocodile signs up. We have crocodile signs here, warning signs. A lot of people ignore them and say, oh, there's no crocodiles in this creek. What are people putting signs up for? That's rubbish. And they don't think we do it for a reason. And you can put signs up and people will still go swimming. They'll still go with bait nets up to their necks in water. So you cannot protect people all the time.
I would have thought once you've caught your crocodile, your problems are just beginning, aren't they?
No, we found they're pretty easy then. I mean, we've got a system we've got worked out to get them out. But
How do you handle a monster croc? I mean, the thing is as strong as a crocodile, as they say. I mean, how do you move him even?
well, it's just
You can't sellotape his mouth up or his jaws. What
no.
do you do?
Well, we do that, but in a different way. We tie the jaws up
How do you do it?
with a lot of careful handling, and we get ropes underneath him right through. So you've got cross ropes here, as you can see. There's 2 cross ropes there.
Yeah.
So what you do when you first come down here, the first 2 operators that come down here, they secure those 2 ropes back either side. They secure them up. And so you've secured the mouth of the trap, and then you put a bag over the croc's head so it can't see it. Then it's disorientated and slows itself down, and you get in there and muck around with it.
It's easy to say. You put a bag over the croc's head. How do you do that?
It's not as hard as people think.
But if your job is to care for and nurture crocodiles, rather than doing all this, why don't you just shoot them with a tranquilizer gun?
They're strange creatures. They're very easy to kill in that situation. You can drown a crocodile very easily.
Yeah.
And yet people have shot crocodiles many times, wounded them, and they can survive traumatic wounds. And yet you can kill them by just leaving them in the water too long. We have to be careful of that when we bring them to the service to make sure they take a breath. And they're very easy to kill. And the same in this situation.
It's very hard to give a crocodile a kiss of life. Right?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think anyone's prepared to do that. I wouldn't be anyway. They got rather bad breath at times.
Now this one you're after, how big is he?
12 to 14 foot, we think.
Has he taken any people or?
Oh, no.
He's not as naughty as that.
No, we would. I mean, in those situations, we have to shoot the crocodile. We would have to shoot it straight away to get the offended animal.
Offending animals are only a small part of Mike Popel's life. As a ranger, he's responsible for wildlife across hundreds of square miles around Townsville in northern Queensland. And for a British migrant living in this steam heat, a most unusual job.
Most of our worries are sort of illegal trafficking of fauna, birds and reptiles, etc.
People who drug parrots and post them to America.
That's true. There's a lot of that going on, and also recently there's been an upsurge in reptile smuggling along the same lines.
What do? They just tape up a snake?
No, they don't really have to do that. They don't require water, they don't require drugs, they don't require food. They just put in padded parcels or packages and just post it in the mail.
You post a snake in a jiffy bag?
For sure. Oh, we've had 3 or 4 snakes come in recently like that from overseas, from Geneva and from Switzerland. And
now, if a customs officer opens a suspicious package and finds a number of taipans inside, I suppose...
It could be a problem. They don't open them too easily, I'll tell you, at times. We usually get called for that.
The only thing is about not sending animals abroad, but keeping them as pets. Some people seem to go in for unusual pets here, do they not? I mean,
yeah.
a joey is very popular, a little kangaroo.
Yes, it's very strange about that. You get people going out shooting kangaroos for a living, legally, but they won't shoot the little ones. They'll take them home and bring them up. You get some weird sights. I've seen women with little joeys with nappies on and things like this along dog leads. You get some funny sights. But unfortunately, people don't realise that these joeys, especially the males, grow up into quite a large animal that can be potentially dangerous.
You've got a big, strong 6-foot creature there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Much stronger than a man.
Oh, by a long way, yeah. And it can be a potential hazard, especially to women, that if you've got a male animal left by himself, he does get sexually frustrated, and there has been situations happening where when women are menstruating, they have got themselves in difficulties with male kangaroos.
Because it stimulated the animal.
Yeah, that's right. And there has been quite serious injuries as a result of those sort of things, and we try to encourage people not to do that. We let people look after kangaroos. We legally allow them to do that, but we then insist that those animals are put back into the wild state as soon as they're able to.
And, I mean, if there's a sexually frustrated kangaroo, you're called in to deal with it, are you?
Yeah, we usually get that sort of calls, yeah. And
Can you see yourself back in Bristol living the good life?
No, I'm afraid not. I don't think I could. There's no crocodiles in Bristol, and I do like crocodiles, so...
Have you ever been back?
Yeah, I went back a few years ago, and I found that everything had changed. I didn't know very many people anymore, and the whole place has changed, and it all seems small.
One breathless, feverish night, we went drifting through the mangrove swamps near Tully, peering into the darkness to spot the eye shine of a crocodile.
There's another one over there.
Ah, we got another one.
A very shy one, though. That's that 5-footer. It's a small animal, about 4 to 5 foot.
You see, I get the impression they see more of us than we see of them.
Of course they do. There's no doubt about that. They would sense us coming with the vibrations in the water, even though we're not making much now because we're on an electric motor. But they'd sense us, they'd see the lights.
It's not a very lovable animal, I must confess.
No, there's not many people who actually bend over backwards for crocodiles, unfortunately. They're not a very affectionate animal. They don't seem to be affectionate to mankind at all.
They're not even nice to their own children.
Oh, no, they are nice to their own children. The females are, anyway. I mean,
for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, you do get the odd male that gets a bit strange and eats its own offspring, so to speak. But
that's the point I was
making.
Yeah. Yeah, what about these crocs that attack boats? I mean, the kind of boat we're sitting in now, you wouldn't feel so benevolent about it if one of them came off that bank and came across here and took a large piece out of the boat.
No, I imagine it would be a bit of a upsetting time, but it doesn't. Those sort of occasions are very, very infrequent, and it's only in the situation...
It doesn't have to happen very often.
No, I suppose it doesn't have to happen very often, but it's only in the nesting time when they do get... They're protective
like
to their nest.
Like now, you mean?
Well, it's a little bit early yet.
See, as soon as a croc has taken a human being, you're going to shoot him, right?
Our main priority is to get that animal, yes.
So are you going to open it up and see what it's got in its stomach and...
Yep, that's right.
Take out the arms and legs?
Whatever. I mean, our main priority is to get that particular offending animal and to confirm that someone has been attacked or taken by a crocodile. And that, until we do that, it's not confirmed, basically.
What does your wife think about your spending all these nights cozying up to crocs?
I think she's used to it by now. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm never home half the time, so I think she's used to those sort of things. I don't think she worries about it anymore.
I'm not worried about the crocs, but I'm slightly worried about the sandflies, actually, or whatever they are.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, they worry me a lot more than crocs do. I mean, some of these situations we go setting traps in these sort of mangrove swamps, the sandflies actually just, the mozzies near enough carry you away. Yeah. And you feel like jumping in the water to get out of them. Oh. But you don't, of course.
At the other end of the scale to crocodiles, koalas are impossibly adorable. Cuddly toys with little grasping hands, fluffy ears and big black noses. They're loved by all children and advertising men. Curled into woolly balls, snoozing in the fork of a eucalyptus, they're so cute it takes a very grim person indeed not to melt. But Pat Robertson from Osterley is now impervious to all that charm. He's been running the 60-year-old Lone Pine Sanctuary at Brisbane since it was bought by his father, a Park Royal ice cream manufacturer, in 1964. The sanctuary is full of koalas, some with babies, which is just too much, all of them bred in captivity and daily photographed with their arms around the necks of apprehensive tourists. One faintly alarmed visitor who just had a koala thrust at him was the Pope. Everybody knew about it, except the Pope, it seemed to be.
Well, he was supposed to have been told, but he did very well. Fortunately, he had his hands together, so it was easy enough for me to put the koala straight in his hands.
It's a natural papal posture, that, isn't it? So you just slap the koala down into his hands.
I think before he really realised what was happening, yes.
The thing is, when you're holding a koala, all you can do is be photographed, isn't it? I mean, that's the object of the exercise, really. You hold a koala and you're photographed, and he was photographed by the entire world's press.
By quite a few, yes, indeed.
To be brutally frank, they're incredibly cute, but they don't have a lot of personality, do they, really?
No, I must agree with you, they don't.
Beautiful but dumb. But I suppose when you look like that, you don't have to have a great personality, do you?
Well, if you could sleep 18 to 20 hours a day, have all your food brought to you and live in a fair degree of comfort, why wouldn't you be content? And what's the need to have a great deal of personality? It's a very easy life.
It is about the perfect life, certainly. Now, what have you learned about them in all these years?
I guess the first thing I've learned is how to keep them properly in captivity. I mean, this little girl is getting a little... Hello, she can crawl up my arm.
Ah, she thinks you're safe, too. Come on, find Mother. There.
Actually, this Levier isn't is a little restless because during the time that the mothers have the young in the pouch and then in the time that they're weaning them, we don't handle them. So they get out of the practice of being handled, and so to pick one up suddenly like this, she wonders
used to it as who the hell you are. What liberty you're taking. What, you say you sent one to San Francisco, or some to San Francisco. If you could buy them, and I presume you can't buy them, what's the financial value of a koala?
Well, you're right, there's no trade in koalas, but the director of the San Francisco Zoo told me that he valued them about $50,000 each, US dollars.
50,000, I see.
Well, all of the zoos overseas that have received koalas have spent quite a deal of money in preparing for them, providing feed, suitable housing. But they've all got their money back very quickly. In Japan, for example, 3 zoos got koalas in October 1984. And within 6 weeks of them going on display, we were told they'd all recouped their investments, which isn't bad.
Because the Japanese are bananas over koalas.
Absolutely. They really are. It's quite incredible, the Japanese reaction to koalas. We get 1 flight a week directly from Tokyo into Brisbane, and the normal passage of the tourists is to come straight from the airport to Lone Pine. They spend an hour and a half here. First thing they want to do is be photographed with a koala, and then they go to the Gold Coast.
In these days, are they ever seen in the wild?
Oh, yes, but they're very hard to see in the wild. They blend in so well with their natural habitats. You can be looking into a tree and suddenly see one, move a few degrees around the tree and it disappears from view. Yes, they're very hard to see, even when you're out in the bush looking for them.
Now, you got an albino here that was in the wild.
Well.
That's very rare, isn't it?
Yes. To our knowledge, there are only 2 albinos in existence, one here and one in San Diego Zoo.
It's a joy to see the public. Everyone's going, aren't they?
Oh, you go back up there.
She's very alert, this one. Here am I saying how dozy they are, but she's rather bright and attentive, isn't she?
I think
she's listening to every question.
Oh, she's probably more interested in going back onto a pole and having fresh feed.
And having, yes, well, I can't blame her for that, I must say. But the baby seems quite content.
Oh, not too bad.
Yeah. Now, when you go back to Austerley, when you go back to London, do you ever see a koala there? Are there any in London?
No.
I'm ashamed to say I wouldn't know.
No, there are only 5 zoos outside of Australia at present that have koalas.
But nothing in England?
Nothing in England nor in Europe.
Well, there's an opening for you. Back to Middlesex.
And we might have trouble growing eucalypts in Middlesex.
Those susceptible Japanese and many American tourists are beginning to appreciate that northern Queensland and its Great Barrier Reef is a magic place, more agreeable and less expensive than Hawaii. Australia is one of the last unexplored places on Earth which also has the infrastructure for tourist comfort. It's wilderness with bathrooms. A few POMs have discovered the potential. One of them left Pembrokeshire back in 1965 to become a jackaroo on a small station in northern Queensland, only about 110,000 acres. He later bought a worked-out sugar plantation here at Kawarra Beach, just north of Cairns. Robert Prettyjohn and his wife Una built their hotel to blend into its gorgeous surroundings of mangrove swamp, silver sand and rainforest. Now, this was a sort of a tired sugar plantation when you arrived. All this ground we're standing on now. What did you see it as a magical place? What?
Oh, I was instantly attracted to the physical sort of possibilities here. It's got so many incredible things with the trees and the forests and the creek and the beach, and it had a sort of magnetism even in its raw state that
when it was just all sugarcane. You see, you've certainly created a place of a marvellous beauty, but the hotel business is a very professional business, is it not, these days? And it runs on very fine margins, and the difference between profit and loss is on the size of a pat of butter. I mean, do you have portion control?
Well, we've discovered the pat of butter. Yeah, we've got right onto it, and believe me, that pat of butter is a very tightly controlled portion.
Is it?
And I think the fact that we're both involved ourselves, and we know the pressure points, and we keep an eye on them.
We're fast learners.
We're sort of fast learners.
But you were innocents at home,
yes, very much
weren't
so.
you?
Oh, yes.
We were.
See, Australians don't seem to be great travellers within Australia. All the Australians I meet haven't seen Australia. They want to go to London,
Yes.
but they don't want to come to northern Queensland, it seems. Or...
It's been a tradition, but I think the dollar being what it is today, I think a lot of Australians are starting to look at their own country. We've had so many guests here who have been, all around the South Pacific, never been to North Queensland before, and they've been absolutely, totally excited about what they found in their own country for the first time.
The Anglo-Saxon Australians have always considered this a hostile environment, have they not? I mean, when the first settlers came here, this was really a hardship post, wasn't it? If, of course, I don't know, if the Asians had settled here, they would have...
Well, that's very interesting.
They would have settled in North Queensland before they went to Sydney or Melbourne.
That's right.
And even the sort of things we do today, it's ironic, but they're a reflection of the history of the Victorians. I mean, we still, in the supermarkets, are buying temperate vegetables, and only in the last few years, the last 5 or 6 years, have people seriously taken an interest in growing exotic tropical fruits, and that's very, very exciting.
Now, this is a natural rainforest setting, and it's delightful, but it has certain disadvantages. You do have a few sandflies, and you have a few mosquitoes, and when I go back to my cabin last night, I found a swarm of cockroaches in the bathroom. Now, I'm sure they were very upmarket They were upmarket cockroaches. They were from the rainforest. They're not your common old garden tenement cockroach. No. But nevertheless, without being an expert, they're a bit off-putting.
There's such an abundance of life here, and that's something that we've really sort of tried to encourage. I mean, we didn't set out to turn this into a huge concrete jungle. We encouraged the wild animals even to come into the restaurant. So we have little bandicoots that come through the restaurant areas, and we've got barramundi in the lagoon. And that's really the whole soul and heart of the place, is to create the feeling of being close to nature.
You're telling me I should have appreciated the cockroaches, aren't you?
Oh, no, not necessarily.
No, they weren't your little household cockroach at all.
I've lived here for years, Alan, and I still find it hard to cope with the green tree frogs, believe me.
Oh, the frogs are adorable, but what about the snakes, though? What about the snakes?
They have a beauty of their own, too. I think they're wonderful creatures, they really are.
Yeah.
The pythons.
Well, they're very, very timid, and you won't see any around here simply because where you have a lot of people en masse, they're very timid creatures, and they exit the area.
I've never seen beaches anywhere in the world like these beaches in North Queensland, from here right up to Port Douglas. Every beach is gorgeous, and every beach has got one person on it.
All the guests that come here say they've never been anywhere where they can get on, such a stretch of beach and see so few people.
Well, I think you get so spoilt, actually, that you get to the stage where if you get to a beach and there are more than 5 people on the beach, it really is terribly crowded, and you move on.
Twilight dance by some other immigrants, Melanesians from Saibai Island in the Torres Strait, led by their chief. What job do you do when you're not dancing?
When I'm not dancing, well, I do nothing. I used to work before.
Doing what?
Oh, well, I've been a truck driver for housing society here. Used to drive for them. And used to be, I work on the railway, Ponnybrook Group, Mount Isa Line. Then I met my wife. I was assistant foreman, one of the colored foreman, assistant foreman in a group, American Construction, Mount Isa Line.
Great.
Fiber bus train, then I was one of them.
One of my friends here is suffering from exhaustion. I want your witch doctor to have a look at him before he goes.
I don't think so. Witch doctor could do anything for him.
Wouldn't fix him?
No, wouldn't fix him. There's no voodoo about it. It's just an act, that's all.
It is just a show.
It's a jolly good show,
Sure,
Chief.
yes.
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It's great. At dusk, the great fruit bats fly in to signal the end of the entertainment, while 20 miles offshore, out towards the reef, another pommy migrant has just started his night's work in the Coral Sea. Bill Moole once worked for Ford in Essex. In 1966, he and his wife became 10-pound poms and headed for Melbourne. But after a while, he realized he was just doing the same factory job, but in a better climate. So he went prawn fishing. Now, after 15 years, he has his own boat.
Few prawns in there.
Every hour or so, his nets pour out a fishy cornucopia. So apart from the trash fish here, what's good? What are you looking for?
Well, this is virtually all we fish for, this tiger prawn. These are the ones the Japanese buy, these are worth the money.
What do you get for those?
These are $25 a kilo at the moment, but that's only because our dollar's so weak. And
$25 a kilo, that to me would be about 11 or 12 pounds a kilo. It's quite a lot of money.
well, it is, but they only, you compare it with that prawn there, he's $10 a kilo. See, that's for the Australian market. That's not an export prawn.
So your best stuff goes to Japan?
Well, they want these particular prawns, these tiger prawns. They don't taste as good as these. But that's what they want.
You get a few strange-looking side stuff. This is a sea slug. He just crawls along the bottom, filtering the water.
And he's not edible?
Oh, the Chinese, they dry a lot of this stuff and boil them, and they would eat that sea cucumber, but it's not a beach demur.
But I mean, everything here would make a hell of a good bouillabaisse, wouldn't it? A good fish soup.
Well, it depends how desperate you are.
It's what we call a Moreton Bay bug. This one's got eggs on it, and that tastes very similar to crayfish.
That's a delicacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bug.
Very similar to crayfish, same family. The only other thing we keep is the scallop, but that's not big enough. It's got to be at least 3 inches diameter to make it worthwhile shelling out.
Now, Bill, 20 years ago, you were working for Ford's in Essex, Dagenham, Rainham. Now you're prawning off Port Douglas. What is the appeal to an Essex engineer of the fishing business?
Well, I never dreamed I'd be in fishing when I left Essex. In those days it was an adventure because we didn't have a home and we had nothing to sell up. We just got married and the housing situation was pretty bad for young couples. It only cost us £10 to come out here, and we thought, well, you stay for 2 years and then you're allowed to go back without paying your fare. So it was half an adventure, half a holiday and half an exploration.
Now this is your own trawler. This has cost you a few quid. Like how much?
This is $150,000 the value of it now.
$50,000, £70,000. Yes.
I don't know what your exchange rate is at the moment. It's up and down, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, you make a few quid at this business. If you're going to be as uncomfortable as you have to be for 3 months at a time, you have to be rewarded. So you're doing quite well.
We've we've got to earn $1,000 a night, gross, to make things work pretty well. That pays the deckhand, that pays the fuel, the upkeep on the boat, and profit on your investment. If we're going to earn $500 a night, you're virtually going backwards because we're using about 7 gallons an hour of fuel, and we're paying $7,000 a year insurance. So there's a lot of expenses. Prawning is a big income in one hand and a big expenditure on the other hand.
You couldn't see yourself fishing off Yarmouth, could you?
No, I went back last year and talked to the fishermen down at Ramsgate and that area, and they're talking about the fogs and the sleet, and not my cup of tea, you know. You can dive in the water here and it's warm.
You've got more sharks here than you got at Yarmouth.
Oh, I think so, but if the sharks didn't get you, I think the coldness would finish you off over there. Sometimes you can nearly walk on them on the back of the boat. They're that thick, and as you, just when you're pushing your trash fish down, and they're fighting each other together. So it's, you make sure you're holding on pretty well when you're in rough weather, you know. I've only ever lost one deckhand over the side, but he got on the boat pretty quick again.
Each night, 4 tons of trash fish goes over the side to the sharks. The rest has been sorted, graded and frozen before Bill returns to Port Douglas at the end of his week's work. Now it'll be sold and he can work out his profit and loss. Charters Towers burst into life when gold was discovered in 1871, and almost 7 million ounces had been mined before it vanished around 1960. The prospectors vanished too, and the population dropped from 32,000 to 9,000, and the towers fell asleep in the sun. But now Australia has begun to value its history. So some of the town's elegant facades, its iron lace and curved awnings have been restored. Ornate buildings that were busy banks have become offices, and the stock exchange a shopping arcade. Though it can now look quite spiffy, it's still Wild West. In wide streets, only the Deadwood stage is missing. Old Stan Pollard started the town drapery more than 70 years ago. He's still there, keeping an eye on things, though considering selling. His slingshot money exchange system is surely worth saving. They're just not making them anymore. A couple of miles out of town along dusty tracks, and there's the Barker Bit Kennels. Only the occasional bark, as advertised, shows this tumble-down collection of old caravans and sheds across 5 barren acres represents 30 kennels, a cattery, and the hopes of Jeff Taylor, a colliery electrician from Coleville, Leicestershire, and his wife Edie. They emigrated in 1969 and live in caravans with 3 children and a mother-in-law. They're also in the business of making concrete garden ornaments. Jeff fills imported American casts, while Edie spray paints.
Is it brush or what? No, I'll do it with the ink gun.
Then the animals, urns and cherubs are left on parade in gaudy lines, awaiting buyers. Unfortunately, in the empty Queensland scrub, amid derelict mines, there are few passers-by, few impulse buyers for their florid frogs and lions, not even for the precast lavatory seats inscribed, "If you sprinkle when you tinkle, be a sweetie and wipe the seatie." Jeff, you come from a close-knit mining village in Leicestershire, a place of warmth and friendliness. What made you decide to leave all that and come out here, which is warm in a different way?
Well, in Australia. Oh, simply because we were sick of the life in England, eh? I don't know, you seem as if you're born to a job over there. You get given a job. You're a coal board employer. You work at the coal board for so many years, and you die at the coal board. You're buried at the coal board, and you're living as we were in Ravenston, and that's your life. There's no outside life at all. It's too narrow.
You could have wandered around England picking up jobs here and there.
Yeah, but it's too bloody cold over there, isn't it, mate?
Okay. But no, there must be a better reason than
too
the
cold,
cold.
too narrow. We wanted a change of life. Wanted to have a look at how other people live. Edie got a bit of wanderlust being Irish.
I've always liked Australia. I've just always thought that it was a romantic country, a big country. And ever since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to come to Australia.
So you were £10 poms,
yes, we were called, what was it, condoms, I think they call us, condoms.
Yeah. You came out, so that was a good holiday anyway.
Well, it was the best holiday we've ever had or ever likely to have, I think.
I see.
A whole full months on a boat.
Yeah.
It was worth it. We landed in a totally strange country, entirely different ideas. We didn't like what we saw when we first arrived because it was so new, but we wouldn't go back now.
What did you object to when that was new?
Oh, it's just a different style of life. One thing you cop over here, I don't know, you land in a, what do you call them, the hostels, as they call them, the quarter of a Nissan hut. And when you leave England, there's supposed to be these nice flash places over in Australia for you to live in for a while until you find work and a home and a house, etc., and a job. But it's not quite so glorious as that when you get here. Some are. Apparently over the last few years they're really good.
You mean you were a whinging pom when you arrived?
Not really, no. I was a dissatisfied pom when I arrived. I didn't, how can you put it? We didn't get what we thought or what we were led to understand we'd get.
Which is what?
Given time, a better life, nice housing and all sorts of things, and you finish up in a quarter of a Nissan hut with a job, you know, smack in the middle of the city.
Yes.
From 11 in the morning till God knows what at night. And until you've been here a while, you just don't appreciate the good points.
You finished up here, just outside Charles Town. And you live, it's a bit basic, isn't it?
Very.
It's more than basic, mate.
I mean, you're still living in a caravan.
It's a bit rough, isn't it? Yeah, well, we're in the position where we made a decision after we got here. Well, we got two choices, either a home or a business. If we can get a business going, we can provide a home from the business. If we buy a house, we've got a house, so what? It's a house and dole money, so we opted for this. We make a lot of sacrifices down there. We've got the bare necessities down there.
Yeah.
We've got two, we hope, and we'll find out in the next couple of years, we've got two businesses nearly, which should give us a living and should provide us a house.
You don't ever feel that you'd like a little modern home with a nice new kitchen and all the mod cons?
Yes. I'd be wrong if I said no. Yeah, I do. But I think you've got to be practical. You know, we started off here just on the dole, and you've got to be practical. You've got to do things in the right order.
It's lucky for you that she was the one who suggested it all, isn't it? So she
initially,
can't whinge about it.
Initially, she was interested in the kennels.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she wanted to travel, and she's travelled. Have you now come to rest? I mean, is this it? Are you going to grow?
So.
Are you going to grow gracefully in Charters Town?
I think this will remain a base because we enjoy the kennels, and if this takes off, which I think it should, I can't see any reason why not. There's no reason why we shouldn't stay here. You see, we'll probably retain a set of wheels.
You've come a long way from being whinging poms in that case.
Well, we have a whinge.
Even now.
I don't think we're. I don't know. Maybe the Aussies will disagree, but I don't think we're whinging poms.
What, in your experience, is it about the poms that the Aussies don't like?
That usually.
But you're not a middle-class snob, Jeff.
Well, I can't afford to be, can I, yet?
You'd like to be, would you?
No, I don't think I would, actually, no. I'd like to be a little bit better off than I am at the moment, but I'd hate to be a snob.
It's a money snobbery
it's
here, isn't it?
It's a different type, yeah. You know, if you've got a lot of money, as you say, you know, people will sort of look up to you a little bit more, I guess. But in England, you can be as poor as a church mouse, but if you've got the right name, everyone looks up to you. It's a different attitude, really.
Now, the business is the kennels and Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this stuff is an acquired taste, isn't it?
I really don't know. It's an unknown entity to me still. See, I'm in a position at the moment, Alan, where I don't really know. My problem now is the marketing of these products and how far to go and how successful it'll be. We have managed to find out how to make them, how to design and make the moulds, design and make the keepers, because they get rather expensive. The one problem I have got is the marketing side, and the only way I'm going to find out is to take them to the public and say, look, this is what I've got. There you are. Are you superstitious or not? No? All right, okay. We only brought 2 frogs in, two small frogs, and they've both gone within about half an hour.
And the small eagle, that's fine.
Yeah, we just sold the eagle over the back there.
And the bulldog, he's gone.
We've sold 4 bulldogs.
4 bulldogs?
Yeah.
4 bulldogs.
He's the only one left, this fella down here.
Yeah.
Blackbird. There's 4 of them gone this morning. And we've given out quite a few business cards, and a lot of people have shown a lot of interest, which is our primary reason for being here.
Yeah.
We've made a few bob out of it again.
We're quite happy.
We came in with, what was it, about $300 worth of orders from last time we came. And probably $150, $200 worth so far. So it's worthwhile coming into town.
The population of Ravenswood, another old gold rush town some 50 miles away, has dwindled from 5,000 to 100. It's rested undisturbed since the days of glory that followed when pay dirt was struck in 1868. Today it's a ghost town with 2 pubs. One of their regulars is Eddie Farrell from Manchester, an army cook who worked the fairgrounds before emigrating to Australia in 1952 to make meat pies. He spent 20 years working in the tallow department of the Townsville Meat Works, which, let's face it, must make retirement to an old caravan in a ghost town seem like paradise. With his companion Madge, he ignores Queensland's scorching sun and goes fossicking every day among the old workings. It's not bad for a man of 72, this, Eddie.
No, it's pretty good, actually.
How many hours do you spend out here?
How many hours?
Yeah.
Oh, 2 or 3 out here, doing this.
Every day?
More or less. And then there's the other stuff, the scratching the dirt. Because this is for later on, this. You've got a lot way to go down here yet.
It's like working in an oven here today, Eddie. What do you reckon the temperature is?
I'd say about 35, 36.
I can understand why. I can understand why you need a beer or 2 afterwards.
Well, you need a beer or 2 because, after all, it's dry work. It's hard work, it's dry, it makes you dry. It's very nasty, very dry.
So when you've done this, you go back and take a rest in the caravan, then you go down to the pub?
No. When I've finished here, I'll go down home, change a wee bit, then go to the pub. Then have a couple of beers. Then come back home and have some lunch. Then have a rest. Then back again out in the afternoon.
Out here or out to the pub?
Out here. The pub's in the evening. Pub around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, the pub.
Now, in this place that isn't a ghost town, by the time you've done the 2 pubs, there's nothing left to do but the cemetery.
No, the cemetery, they're all satisfied there. They're all peaceful people there. They're happy where they are. The people are happy down below, and the people are happy on top. No worries with them. Plenty to do up here. I can find plenty to do.
Eddie, how did you find time to learn the skill of fossicking? Because it is quite a skillful pastime when you were working in a meat plant.
Well, every time we went on strike, I came up here, and I learnt it during that time, which is quite often, actually.
I believe you. I believe you.
Oh, yeah. Then, after all, in that space of time, 20 to 30 years, you must pick up something, and then you have books.
Eddie, the one thing you haven't picked up in 20 to 30 years is much gold. I'm sure you haven't found enough gold to fill a gold tooth, have you?
I have a gold mine here. You are actually standing on a gold mine.
But it's not producing.
No, it's got to be got. It's got to be took to the top. It's got to be cleaned and skilled. It's a skilled business. Got to be crushed to get the gold out. And when you've got sufficient, then you crush it, and then you've got your rewards. Plus your health, plus your strength.
What have you discovered, Eddie, since you've been up here?
Beautiful country.
Yes.
Lovely climate.
Yes. But no gold.
Yes, there's gold. I showed gold this morning. That's 3 ounces of gold over there. I've sent a lot. I've sent about 20 ounces away. You're finding gold. Your health is gold.
It's exercise.
Your health is gold. Eh? And look, if you're 72 years of age, what can you do in a city at 72 years of age as far as exercise? As far as running is concerned, that's no good. There's no future in that. There is future here. You might find something, and you might not, but you're losing nothing. It's only time you're putting in. And the time? Look at the weather for the time. Beautiful.
You converted me, Eddie. I'm going to start looking for a gold.
You're going to stay here? Put a caravan next to mine?
Hand me that pick. It's happy hoedown time in Ravenswood, the evening of the year for the entire population.
Cast off.
Meat pie man from Manchester, now part-time gold miner and totally content, is ready to dance all night.